questions actually, so bear with me please. One, we are told that in places like Tembisa, for the elderly and disabled who are unable to get to voter registration stations, what are the contingency plans to assist those? We're getting reports from my colleagues, reporters on the ground, that some have been sort of left on their own with no assistance. So how are you assisting the elderly and disabled? One. I know you mentioned a little bit of this, but also the situation in Vuwani where there's some disruptions there. What's the plan to deal with that? Because it's in part of obviously an ongoing issue that they've been having there regarding the municipality demarcation, but now it's spilling over to your campaign of registration. Also in Marikana as well, similar reports of community protests that are disrupting the voter registration. So generally, what are the plans in such situations where you have protesting community members who want to disrupt the work of the IEC, and you have community members who want to do the right thing and register to vote? So how are you handling that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, introduce yourself.
My name is Neo from SABC as well. Just a follow-up on Sipho's question, and in addition, I think I've got two. Mr. Namabulu, in terms of the disruptions of the process today, is there any likelihood that the stations will be open after being suspended, or will there be any other chance before the next phase, which I think will be some few months to come, for the stations to be open and give those committees a chance to sort of like check and register? The second one is the Kwato Harrismith area. It has got a very huge number of potential voters. What's going to happen if the stations there are also forced to sort of like close today and tomorrow? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to add to that. It's Levanza Tema from ESCA. Mr. Nalboda, with regards to I mean, seven is quite a big number for voting stations to be closed in Dandahong, for example. Do they remain closed up to now? Were you able to make contingencies? You did announce that there has been some places where you put on gazebos and so forth, but can you just tell us about the contingencies that you are putting up immediately? And of course, express your concerns, really, with regards to all these protest actions that are happening, that are hampering on your work. Thanks.
Thank you very much. CEO?
Can you still have which ones you want to take? You can go first to choose, and then I can look at the answer.
Thanks very much. So the CEO will deal with the specific plans in relation to the issue that you raised about people who are disabled and elderly. But I wanted just to comment generally on the issue that we have already raised. We do emphasize that the importance of community leaders, political parties to be on the spot and available is something that I think has been taken up. We appreciate it, but that role can't be overemphasized. Fortunately, as you've heard from the report, there are proportionally a very small percentage of stations that have been affected. But I think what our general approach is to ensure that there is some dialogue that takes place with communities, because clearly they do have concerns. And in most instances, communities are recognizing and verbalizing that it's not with the IEC, that they have their problems. And so we are hoping, and we are on standby to resurrect temporary voting stations where that's possible, and also to work with the security agencies, the police, in order to return as soon as there is calm. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is that with regard to, where there are disruptions and maybe people are unable to return when things have calmed down, as members of the media, you've been really helpful to us in communicating to voters that we do have online registration opportunities, and we'll certainly be making those opportunities known to people beyond this weekend. But it is really important that people over this weekend, as much as possible, just take note that we will be keeping stations, or at least trying to reopen the stations where there have been those disruptions. CEO, I'm sure that you'll then deal with the detail of the disabled and the Katlehong.
RC2.
Thank you. With regard to the aged and those who are unable to make their way to the voting station, there are two options. We have, as mentioned in the statement, we have an online facility, and we have also released, and we now have in the app stores an app as well. So not only the aged, but all those at home who prefer that method, that is available. Then we have special provision in the legislation to visit those for home visits for those who are unable to get to an IEC voting station or office. Those applications have to be made to the local office in the municipality where you find yourself, and the local IEC office would then make an appointment with the applicants to visit them at an opportune time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Love and Granville. The imperative is that all citizens are entitled to register if they qualify in terms of age, and the Commission's responsibility is to facilitate their registration and eventually according them opportunity to register their political choices during election time. So, in those areas where we have had to close stations, we are doing everything within our means to reopen them, either by negotiating with community leaders or using alternative infrastructure such as gazebos, as we have reported. That's going to be the case in Marikana, Kwakwa, Harrismith, as well as in Katlehong. The intention is to reopen those voting stations at the earliest possible opportunity.
Thank you very much, CEO, Commissioner Love and Granville. Are there any other matters?
I just on the one issue.
On the one issue.
Yeah, answer specifically, because I understand it's part of the disruption that you're mentioning, but there the situation can be very volatile and violent, as we've seen there. So going there, not knowing how that area is, wasn't there any stronger emphasis on safety or making sure that you put increased security in terms of your work? Because we know the problems that are there. That the same could apply to Katlehong as well. We know that there is a history of such things.
And maybe just to add on, sorry, are there any arrests with regard to the vandalism that you've seen with your tents and so forth that the police have informed you about?
Look, an election, it's essentially a civilian process where you want voters to record their political choices. So it's very important that we maintain that character in the entire value chain of the electoral process. That said, though, we had anticipated those difficulties both in Katlehong as well as in Vuwani, and our provincial leaders, the provincial electoral officers, have led discussions with the community leaders. It is important that we do not securitize the election process. We must maintain security to the extent that is necessary, but let's not have an oversupply of security around the electoral process. So we hope that a political solution will be found in Vuwani to enable us to do the work that we need to do, even if it's not on this occasion. but sometime certainly before the elections, we hope that a solution will eventuate and will then be able to assist that community. In Katlehong, indeed, we were aware and we have engaged with the people who are installing those meters. We have engaged with community leaders. Unfortunately, we did not secure the agreement that we need. However, we will open those stations at the earliest possible opportunity to accord residents in those areas their constitutional right to register.
Maybe just the only thing to mention is that 24 out of 34 are open and full.
Yeah, and that in Vuane, there are 35 that were affected in the lead up to this registration, and of that 35 registration stations, 25 are operational, and 10 we're still not open at the moment. Now, any arrests? We are working with the security agencies, all the way from the net joints, prop joints, and the local joint operation centers. So we've reported these cases. Investigations will be done, and the culprits will hopefully be arrested and brought before courts for adjudication. No arrest yet.
Just one. Generally, though, from the feedback getting on the ground, are you satisfied? And I know you touched on it in the speech, but what's the feedback from the political parties representatives, if you've had any, or what are you getting from them, particularly, besides these minor incidents that you mentioned? Well, this incident.
The feedback on the political front is positive. Political leaders are out there on the ground. They are in communities, mobilizing their members to go to the registration stations. So the Commission welcomes that. We want them more out there in the community so that we can achieve and realize our objectives. It's too early at the moment to make a determination on how well people are turning out at the voting stations. We'll make that assessment in the evening, and perhaps tomorrow we could give some preliminary indications as to how things have gone. We remain hopeful, though, that with your assistance, the assistance of political parties, and as well as our own efforts, that we will realize the objectives that we have set, which is a significant reduction of the 2.8 million people for whom we do not have addresses.
Thank you very much, CEO. I believe that brings us to the end of this current status update. May I also reiterate the words of the CEO, and thank you very much, members of the media, for the sterling work that you have done on all platforms, digital, TV, radio. You really walked the path with us. We ask you once again to continue rallying, opening those voices and calling people and explaining the process. If you need anything from us as the Electoral Commission, please contact us if you need anything. Thank you very much and safe travel as you go back to do your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we just need another language for us from the CEO, please.
Certainly.
Okay. Thank you very much. But in just a quick summary of the situation.
Okay.
You can still remain seated.
Oh, okay.
The second language that you are comfortable in.
Do you do French?
Preferably South African language.
Okay.
One of the 11 languages.
So I thought you were going to ask for French.
Okay. mathata ko tulong ya Katlehong mo provinceng ya Gauteng mo leng gone gore mo leng gone mo leng gone di station tse 7 tse leng gore di reteletse go di bula mo mafelong a mang a tshwana le ko KwaZulu-Natal go di stations tse pedi tse re sa kgonang go di bula ko Mpumalanga ko Bushbuckridge ke di station di le tlhano ka kakaretso di station di ka nna 99% of the 22,000 re kgonne go di bula mo nakong yaanong tse e leng gore ga ra kgona go di bula ka nako re busy ka tsona di tla bulwa ka nako ka potlako mo re ka kgonang gore di bulwe di station tseno gonne maAfrika Borwa leng gore a nna mo ditulong tseo le bona ba na le se re ka reng ka leina la seeng di constitutional rights tsa gore ba ikwadise le bona gore ba tse karolo mo ditlhophong tse di tlang isago.
All right. We just had the 99% bit there. We didn't get that in English. So are you saying that at this point you're saying that the 99% of the entire stations are operational, everything went smoothly? So you're quantifying the problems as to just 1%?
We are positive that the problems that we are reporting, they constitute less than 1% of the voting stations throughout the country.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Namsa. Thanks, Commissioner.